tomorrow, and because of our persuasive nature of our committee assistant, we have been given an extension next Friday to take a look at these reports that come and determine if we should eliminate them. Okay, and what I thought might be helpful, instead of me looking at them, because the brain trust in this room is incredible, and your areas, what I thought might work, where your areas in your budget is. I mean, you can look at them all if you want, but I mean, I'd be most interested because you're the ones that get them in your area the most, and see if they're still useful. Or you may even discover, I didn't even know we got that. I think I want this. So that's what happens when you uncover things. You go, and so if you want to take this for next week, then at some point, put this away nicely in a good spot that reminds you that it's due next week.
We were talking about the reports we went over yesterday afternoon.
No, these are just reports in general that
The reports.
yes. Are there any of these that should be eliminated?
It says expiration, expires at a certain date. Expiring doesn't mean the same thing as repealing. You actually have to terminate the ones that have already expired.
I'm not so sure. We'll let that. I don't know the answer to that. But imagine if it expired, we may want to say, oh, no, I want to keep that for another time frame. Or, yes, I'm okay with this expiring now. Its purpose is, we had a report to figure out how much rainfall fell during Irene. Okay, well, that's over. So right? Okay, I made that up, by the way. That wasn't real. Okay, so we're gonna put that out of your mind. All right, so today, committee, yesterday I've been around and I'm gonna be in and out today and tomorrow as well. But I know that you're in incredibly good hands. We have this morning until lunchtime to be with us to close areas. We're gonna have lunch at 1 o'clock. Grady's gonna come back with language to walk through. And I'm gonna tell you, he's worked hard to figure out, make sure the things that we gave him comments, make sure that the pages are numbered, that there's identifiers at the top and where it comes from. And I asked him if he could, I don't know if he had a chance to, but this would be the next level of organization around language, is to come with a cover sheet, or what we would do, all the different language, not the language that the governors recommend, but language changes, that if we could have a table of contents that says, this change is, came from Human Services letter. So we know where, but JFO catches things that are a problem and then works with the administration that says, oh, this is a technical fix. Even within their own language that they bring to us, it can potentially have areas that need an adjustment. So JFO works with them and then brings that language. And then there's brand new language from someplace, is it from a committee? Is it from here? Or is it something else? So I thought it might be helpful for us, because I get a little lost when there's loose pieces, to try to tag it up until to the early hours of the morning to figure out, is there anything we've missed? Because it's like a snowstorm. Okay, so, all right, as we walk through today, I don't know if this is helpful or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But because when we go to the floor, the sections here that we need to close are never really closed until we actually finally do something. So I think there's tentative, but one of the things I wanted to maybe give you some guidance on is, if you are waiting for information to help your floor report explain a section's change, that can happen all next week. But the question we need to make a decision in is, are you ready to decide to actually check it off? The whole committee doesn't have to wait, or not have to wait, but you don't have to feel like if you're waiting for more information, for backup information, but you don't have any issue with closing the section, we can close it. And if something happens tomorrow, or even Monday, that you go, you know what? I was really good with that, but now I think I have a question. It's okay. So let's not open it all up. All right. Does that help give some guidance?
I find that useful.
Yeah, and the other thing
We can
that
close more today.
I think we can like say whatever the distinction between I need more information to help me explain versus what I need to actually make a decision. We've got most of the committee's responses, and we're gonna, when we get into this issue, it's hard because we want to reopen and relitigate bigger policy pieces that is not right in the, right. If there's a tweak or something that needs to be fixed, and, there's a lot of things we don't always agree with on the bigger picture, or it might need big wholesale change. That's terrific, but I wouldn't want to necessarily, as it need to be done in here. And, we'll be continuing, we're here for hopefully decades to make adjustments to big changes. Because sometimes there's things that don't always set well, that this is the way we've done it for 10 years, and this, we don't always have the capacity in this room to make. It took how long to make some healthcare changes? A decade, and some things we get progress, and then we get sometimes a step back, and then we go 3 steps forward, and we go 1 back, and then, But anyway, I think Vermonters are looking for us to take on these bold issues that they're dealing with every day. And I don't want to let small things that might need adjustment get in the way of the big relief that we could bring.
The perfect PBS.
Yeah, the perfect being the enemy of the good, but never forgetting that that little burr needs to get addressed in time. And we all carry those things with us. All right, is that helping at all?
Yeah.
All right, so where do we want to start?
Language.
Right from the top?
Yeah.
Okay, and I understand that you guys went through letters. I went through what we got yesterday. I have a couple. Human Services has got 2 things I think outstanding. They have a question, and I'm saying this out loud because I want your confirmation that I read this right. They have a reversion that they are looking at adjusting that would give us more money, or in that direction anyway. That makes sense. We just don't know that number yet. And they're coming with the GA age language. I think they're very close, I'd like to say. Today's Thursday. So it's almost there. Okay, so that's coming out of Human Services. What we have missing at the moment is the official letter from Ag. But they did give us at least in a hallway conversation and in an email, but that the chair wanted to formalize it. I have a 99% chance if I know what's coming on that, or what they're moving in what direction. Energy and environment. It's been done. It's been done. Corrections was fine.
Okay.
Corrections and
We didn't actually
institution.
get a letter.
She's just like, everything in there is fine.
Okay.
And yeah,
What about government ops?
that's the 3.
Oh.
Government ops is, but what I do know,
And they're working on it. I talked to Rep.
Okay.
McCarthy this morning, and
there's no, from what I understand, unless some changes in the next hour, there's no money that they're asking for.
GovOps.
GovOps.
No, well, the cannabis 2%,
Well, that's-
that's the money.
Yeah, no general fund money. There's a lot of language that the treasurers, there's,
Beasters and different things.
right, there's a lot of language coming from them. Well, that's kind of sounds nasty, doesn't it? A lot of language coming.
They got lit.
So, and then, okay, ag and
Energy and environment.
energy environment.
If I may.
Yeah,
Well, we do know from the flooding and the flood recovery that we had limited the use of some ARPA funds and some of our general funds used for buyouts, maybe too narrowly. It was for buyouts for the non-FEMA eligible properties, but we know unfortunately, from experience in Barry, that landslide hazards caused by flooding, but they are non-FEMA eligible. And yet, I think there are something like over 50 properties in Barry alone.
Just very alone.
Yeah.
And so the language that would, in my mind, would be to give Vermont Emergency Management more flexibility in using those funds or available funds for buyouts for the non-FEMA eligible properties.
So
That would be the one.
there's Commerce sent a revised, or at least an addendum to their letter, right? Yesterday, you saw that. Representative Williams, in the course of conversation with Douglas Farnham on the ARPA piece, ARPA dollars with the latest iteration of rules on the guidelines from the Treasury, US Treasury, can be used for, as you saw, natural disasters and its negative impacts. Right? There's your door. There's your door. So they've cracked open that door. They haven't identified or through the, like, which one of the line items, you know, I say it because I visually see all of the spreadsheet that has, so if anybody thinks there's ARPA dollars out there, there's not, that's not appropriated. It's all appropriated, but there are appropriation lines that are hot, cold, and if we put, I'm just gonna make this up, if we had $5 million to do X, and so far they only have used, this is what we did last year with Commerce, they came in with $10 million. Remember, we could scoop it, or not scoop it, but redirect it, because they had a program that had $15 million over years, and it only had about 1 million or 2 applications and applied.
So this hasn't all been obligated. It's
No, it has not been, it's been
appropriated,
appropriated. So we can reappropriate. So that's where we got, like, 15 million was appropriated, come through, find out only 2 million, and they didn't have much time left. So we literally took 10 million, reappropriated, and it's still left way more of a landing field of 3 than they actually figured they were ever going to use.
And we did add the 4.5 million of general funds too. I believe we added 4.5 million of general funds to serve the same purpose of supporting buyouts of non.
Oh, that's, yeah, but I'm just talking about the ARPA piece where that can be shifted. And now, before ARPA funds, when we left here in May, the designation to be able to use it for natural disasters and its negative economic impacts didn't exist. It does exist now in the fall. And a lot of kudos, and I'll say it on camera, Representative Williams from Barry, of course, he's doing his work, but his day job is, this is where, as a citizen legislature, the work we do outside of here is informative, is in touch with, for whatever reason, with what the Treasury guidelines are. So he knows.
So to clarify, I don't mean to belabor this point, but just to clarify, you're saying that that additional language gives the flexibility. We don't need to adjust.
We need to, so they identified,
need to do
but they
so.
did not send in the letter the line item to move. They just let us know that it can be used that way. And that's all that was in that letter. So we are in the process of working with them between today and tomorrow then. What would language look like? And I don't have a line item to pull from, so committee, I would say something to the effect, it's almost like, as ARPA dollars are identified, that up to blah, blah, blah amount would be used for relief.
Sort of a contingent waterfall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then, because this document will live and it will go to the Senate and maybe other places where there's ARPA dollars that I can't reach into ARPA dollars and say on this line item, I don't have the knowledge to see what that's doing, and getting information from our friends is not always clear as to which item might not be there. So I think in working with them, our document can indicate that that is our desire.
Great.
And
So
that,
my question,
yeah, go
my
ahead.
question was our language that we used before, would this new language supersede that? Because we narrowed the usage of those opera dollars we restricted it by saying it would be available for buyouts for non-FEMA.
Oh, that's a whole separate thing. That can happen.
Different money.
That's different money, different, there's
Okay, I
like
thought
two,
it was
yeah,
the
there's
same
mobile, no. We'll be adding more.
Thank you.
I would say that was one section, and now there's a new day. It's a new day, and Vermont is in need of us to respond. And I think, you know, I think the administration this is a mutual place that we agree upon. So now we just need to give, instead of being the aggressive of like finding the line item, just our intent can be spoken.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
So I'm excited about it, and kudos to Commerce again. Commerce came in with that, finding that this is where the accountability in our committees, which we've been saying since August, like here's what, I think we got all the report that was, here's all the line items, all the connect. And it was nice because that report that Douglas gave us broke it out by, here's all the workforce, ARPA, here's all the housing, here's all the healthcare. So you could literally take your area and go, like, let me look. And so that went out to chairs and said, and my message to them was, look at your area, look under the hood on these, and examine what's going on, how much is done, where are we going? And they're doing that work in the building. So we're getting this is where this comes from. You know, some people have a little more time to dig into it. Plus, there are areas where, like, I'm gonna say, transportation, there's not really ARPA dollars. So there's not like a whole lot of there. But there are other places where there's more. And it gets come. But anyway, so kudos to them, kudos to everybody working together. And if you remember on this subject, if you don't mind my just staying on it, when Douglas was here and he brought to us the spreadsheet, which would the PowerPoint, which was a different picture than the spreadsheet, he indicated that it would be like the beginning of February when we would get like the latest update on letting activity around what's obligated, what's not. He will have a version of the updated version, maybe the first week of February or something, you know, it's like, right, go do that. That will help to define where we are. So we were at $1 billion, and then we were in August, we had 637 million. And then we're probably down to, we're like 4. So they're expending this. So there's activity. It's just like your checkbook, you know, it's like, but you got like a lot of things outstanding. And so they have to balance it all up and come back and say, at this point in time, here's where we're at. And we'll get that. And we'll get that. And we'll get that before BAA is all done out of the Senate and committee conference. So we'll get another view. All right, and that's only one area. So we got ARPA, the FEMA money and match and activity is another whole thing. Can you just imagine if we didn't have to put 30, 40, $50 million into FEMA, what we would be next step investing in? But that's not on, yeah. Okay, so we're going to be, all right, the other thing, all right, today, 1 o'clock, Brady's coming in, language. 2:30 is e-board. E-board is gonna set the table for us today. We're either gonna have a couple of bucks, few more. I don't know if we're gonna get a 10 or 20, you know, but there's a high probability that the forecast is warmer. It's warmer. How much warmer? We're gonna find out at 2:30. So good work that's been going on. Human Services has located places where we can bring back money onto the table. There's other places in play that could put money back on the table. But at 2:30 today, we're going to see the number on the Thursday before we send this. What is a possibility? Okay, so we're going to watch for that. We have our little, like, if we could do this, we would like to do that. Committees that would like to do this, And they've scrubbed it, you know, so something when it comes to us that commerce had asked for two things. Healthcare, I see there's two things. By the time it gets to us, they have filtered off all of what's possible. So I think we can carry those requests close. I don't know if we can do them all, but we're not going to be able to do them all. But we can try to do our best to balance the view and with an eyeball on what can we do in FY 25 that we know we're going to have in a couple of days. Say. We have the unfortunate enough of not having the view of FY 25 before we get this out, but the Senate will have our counterparts in the Senate will both documents. We'll know them both by the time we come to committee conference. Does that help that we're going to set parameters that will get redefined again through the Senate and through the committee of conference. So as it travels, it'll get tighter, a little more, a little less. Something will change. Oh, we don't need that. And it's never done. It's always alive, always alive. All right. So 2:30 that, then we're going to come back in here at 3:30. We have Tom Cavett in a joint presentation to Ways and Means and House Appropriations at 3:30. So it could be like 3:30. I'm thinking 3:34. So we take a break. I've already talked to Janet Miller, security and others that we're going to be in this building late, that they know that we're going to be in this room until tonight and tomorrow until we're done. She said, how long? And I said, that depends on the efficiency. And I'm talking too much already. Does this help? Okay. And then we come back after that and then we see what else we can close and we won't have other letters. Then tomorrow we'll finish it and get a straw vote, go home for the weekend. Come back Monday, noon Monday. JFO is gonna need the weekend and part of Monday morning to be able to ferret through all those things that they look through to catch, but you know, as the train is leaving the station, some wheels might need a little more greasing than others, you know, and then sometimes you just have to wait till it's in the Senate. So we'll come in at noon on Monday, go off and read it, vote, and you know the rest of that week. And then Tuesday, it will be clear for us to be able to accept the governor will be here with the FY 25. So the Tuesday day there's nothing, no committee. Matter of fact, I'm not planning any committee testimony next week, other than maybe having Adam come in after at some point.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
We're on caucus as a whole. We're on the floor. You're going to be prepping for whatever it is that you need to do to get ready. And then Thursday, you know, we've got a training we got floor on Tuesday.
And the
Lunch,
governor's
execs is at 1, so Tuesday's a non-thing. And then Wednesday, caucus of the whole at noon, floor at 3, but you will be able to budget buddies, all that work that you need to do. We're not gonna want to have testimony. Thursday and Friday, we're on the floor, and as soon as this passes, we go home on Friday, just shh. And we go to birthday party, right? Okay, that's our day. And then Monday, when we come back, the 29th, bright-eyed and bushy-tail, Aaron has been booking all of February already with all the agencies. Bam, bam, bam. So goal is to be able to provide you what she knows, you can see on the schedule, so you could see when your area might be up, February 16th. So you might want to plan, you know, we're gonna have we'll be more prepared, hopefully. All right, and I think the administration at that point will not be in the cross between getting ahead of their governor and their budgets. So they'll be able to explain it fully on camera, but they're in an awkward place at the moment. Okay, so let's go to page 1. This is where we comb through. All right, just read this. Sometimes I can do two things. Should we bring?
We're, yeah, okay to close up to cannabis. Still, I think.
The cannabis that was proposed or the new
The
language?
cannabis that's proposed, I think we all agree on. The question, and I believe that GovOps is gonna tell us that they are fine with the two positions, even if they haven't taken an actual vote, but we'll have to wait for the letter. So that's just a hold for them, but I expect that to be closed.
And so that money have to be added in.
It would have to be added in here and come from the special fund, so there's no jump.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'm anticipating that we will be adding those two positions.
so we're on page what, ma'am?
That was finishing.
Oh, section six.
Okay, so we're almost there.
So we're
Back at the top.
I'm gonna put a light pencil or just put it next thing. We're just holding for position language.
But it's not just the language.
It'll
it's gonna
change the numbers. Exactly, it'll change the numbers.
It's like 170,000.
175.
Okay.
So is everybody okay with that direction? Seeing none, I would say that you could probably close it on your book. Robin cannot close it on her book because she's still got some activity. So if something should change in what we just said, and the two positions going to change the numbers, Representative Shy will bring it back to us and say something, okay?
Yeah.
But otherwise, in your world, we don't need to come back to this unless Representative Shy asks us to. Does that make sense? What's next? Section 8 is the B 301 mixing bowl, which nothing's going to change in here other than the number, right, Maria?
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Now, not much is going to happen in there, just that the number is going to be updated.
That's correct.
Okay, so you can put like a soft thing that the number is going to change. Otherwise, we're not going to be doing, unless somebody says so, we're not going to be doing anything in here.
Right.
Okay, I'm just gonna maybe pencil X check.
So if I may ask,
Yes.
if we took human services recommendation to add
It will
number
change.
917 for the choices for
It'll
care.
change.
It'll change here. Okay.
Yeah, but we'll have to be kind of aware of that. But anything that's in here, we're not messing. Because I don't think there's a lot and nothing that we got from any, it'll uncover, but I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, any of the committees, there isn't anything that the governor recommends that a lot of the committees are in disagreement with. They may want to make a tweak to add, here or there. But I'm not hearing anything that's wholesale, oh my God, do not do that section, other than me and the cash fund. Yeah, so I would say we're like 99% in agreement, but we now just need to do the actual work of making that happen. Okay. 12, 13, 14 is Representative Lindley. Is mental health. Are you,
But I didn't think we.
Okay to close?
That's the.
it's closed, okay.
Yeah, I had written more info coming, so that's.
Yeah, I had written two, but that might be just coming for you.
That was just, I needed to know what the health committee hadn't talked about, one of the issues, so
Okay,
we're good.
and the health, and noting on here, health also okayed this
Yes,
from in their letter.
yes, they did.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just going back to page 4, 30, I'm sorry, page 5. It was a healthcare request for 261,000 for.
What? Oh, that's right. That would be global commitment and
So if we accept that, it'll change this line. But, okay, good. Watch for
So-
that. There's a probability of it, but we're not having, okay. Good to know. So I'm gonna put that's where the 261,000 for the VNA.
261,083. So,
Oh,
and yeah, it's to add that amount to the general fund.
right.
to the general fund to make the match that would bring it up to the million.
Yeah.
That is good to know where it is in the document. Right?
Okay.
Thank you, Representative Page. Somebody's just tracking down right now. Where's this piece of language coming from? I'm gonna have to go check. Okay. 12, 13, 14. 15 is Rebecca. All right, we're gonna wait.
And 16.
And 17 we checked off. And I think we have,
16, you said, oh,
that's hers too. 17 we checked off. And I know that she was waiting for the human services letter, and I'm not, there's some moving parts in Teresa's, but
We're on the language.
We don't have 18 or 20.
Shades. No.
are you okay, Representative Dickinson?
Yeah, just catch up.
Okay,
So section 17, you said is.
it's still open. Oh, 17 is closed.
Yeah.
15's open, 16's open, 18's open, 19's open, all that DCF. And we'll wait for A, Representative Holcomb, B, if you want to take a look at your human services letter, because there's, just to make sure, I think on their line items, they indicate where they're okay with it. We can take them, we won't close anything until she's in the room. All right, what's next is 20's closed, 21's closed. 22 is gonna have some changes.
Yeah, still open.
Still open,
We're
but
still
that's where
looking at
the,
That's for 917.
yeah,
Part of it is closed.
yeah, that's
It's not
the,
closed though.
But it's, yeah, they're still working on that 17 million.
Well, this is also where the 917, 917,000, which we had going back to January 1st, and they're wanting to go back to
Yes.
July 1st.
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'll read, just saying it out
That was in the
loud
letter.
for myself. All right, so this is where human services indicated coming down from the 17 million to the 14 million. And they've got a request for including or going up the 917. So we'll take a look, but that's where I don't think we're having any other heartburn in this issue. I don't think, and I'm gonna look to Representative Dolan, if you take a look to see if there was anything else. We can close that one later. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Just a question, are we talking global commitment on both items, the choices for the flex choices here, whatever it is? And the nursing home, are they both global commitment? So I'm just trying to, are we doing general fund one area and global commitment in another area, so it's not apples to
I
that?
think they're both.
They're both general funds.
the 917 is the amount, but I don't, there, that number, you can ask Maria to take a look. And later on, Maria, like the 917 to do the 5% increase and the COLA for the year.
Yeah.
There's a part of that that's general fund and part of that that's. And I think the 917 is just the general fund?
No,
Yeah, we look at, I have,
the general fund number is not changing.
Not yet.
Well, no, but they had already put 917 in for half a year.
So if we add another 917,
But
what does it
the only
do?
number that changes, I'm looking at this.
Okay,
So I assume it's
we'll
all,
get this.
Maria, is it all global commitment?
Oh, that's a good point. She did have.
So, okay, so I'm looking at the memo, I can, take a look at it and see what it is, the memo is not clear on, it just talks about.
Yeah.
Right.
917,500.
Right.
But let me, go back and.
Sort that out to see
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is the actual, if it's part or if it's more, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
And she's
so
coming back in today too,
Are we,
but it's mostly our people that
are
we need
we
to work with. We're leaving it open.
changing? We're leaving it open.
We're leaving it
Yeah, leaving
open
it
at the
open.
moment. But that would be the changes we would potentially see. if
One
we
is a
agreed with that.
savings of 3 million, the other is an expenditure of 917.
And we think it's all global commitment.
No,
No,
Maria will determine it.
well, the spreadsheet, it shows it as global.
Right. And JFO can
Why
check
wouldn't
that.
it be global commitment?
It could be.
I mean, a portion will end up
End up
being
being
general
state,
fund. No, I
exactly.
understand that.
right.
Yeah.
But when we're
Maria's
talking
gonna check.
17 million is global commitment.
Well, and if we reduce it to
You had
14,
it
how
all.
much is GC and how much is
Well,
GF?
45% or so.
there's two pieces that we don't know whether they're global commitments. So Maria's gonna look at it.
Okay, I'm sorry. It-
No, no, no,
It gets
it-
really confusing.
It does.
But at the end of the day,
It needs to
we
be.
have to compare apples with apples. We can't say we're saving 3 million here.
Right,
And then, but it's really not 3 million
Right,
because
right.
it's.
it's only 2 million because
It's
it's.
1.5 million or
Right,
something, you know?
Right, exactly. Well, we need to know what we actually have in general fund.
Right.
Yes.
I had a very similar feeling very late last night when I looked at their letter. I was trying to tag it up to
Right.
see, and I'm like, I've got a sense, but I'm not dialed in enough to be firm on it. Okay, so between now and then, this would be the direction they're going. How it really sugars out.
Sure.
We're gonna, yeah, and I think,
Good question, though.
yeah,
It is listed as global.
exactly. And the other piece that we don't know in their letter is that reversion on the secure place. How much, you know, they, if that's a split, is it global commitment? Is it not? How much is it? Where's the real? Okay, so there's activity and they get a little complicated. So I'm as hesitant as you are sometimes, other than some of the other areas that they were fine with. All right. 23 is good.
Yep.
24 is good, 25 is good. I'm sorry, I'm just saying it out loud because it really, 26.
I cannot close this. I have. My problem is not so much the SSDBMS, which is a larger problem, as the use of the 1 million.
Right.
I have written the Secretary of Education asking why 1 million exactly? Do they really need 1 million, not 900,000? And also, why now? Why in BAA? I wrote yesterday, around midday, I have not heard anything back.
And why is it, why aren't we getting federal funds for it? Instead of state, why are we getting state? money?
And use an ed fund on that. So your level of uncomfortableness at that point might
I
be,
guess
My
we
feeling
just
would be,
don't do it yet, and if they can
Thank you.
define it more in the Senate, they
if
can.
we don't hear anything,
Right, we just
I'd
take
be
it out.
inclined to just go with it.
I take it out.
You want to take it out?
If we don't have the answers, we could take it out and then it
Yeah,
can
and
go
send
back
it, do it
in.
in the big bill, right, yeah,
It can go
Well, the
back
Senate
in the
can deal with
Senate.
it.
yeah, right.
All right, so circle that and you're, by the end of today or even tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
either you're satisfied or you're not. And if we're not satisfied, we'll hold it off until that gets taken care of. Okay.
And the 50,000, the 50,000 is fine.
Right.
All right, so we'll just.
1 million out, okay, it's the 1 million in.
Oh,
Right, and the 20,000 for the school safety program is
okay.
okay too.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so the outstanding is that.
It's the big.
Is that 26?
Yes.
Yes. So like, look in the explanation, if it's, and then I just did a little check over the 50 is okay, the million reduction is okay, the 20,000 is okay. The questions circle that, and I put problem question, and that you will direct us back when we're ready. So I'm gonna do, this is the magic thing, because Maria is so good at it. Maria, will you flag that as something that's outstanding, that we don't inadvertently
Yes.
fail to come back? Okay. Yes, 27?
27. I don't fully understand yet. I think it's okay, it's a true up.
So this
It's probably gonna be okay.
this gets to where I was like, are you waiting for more information or
I'm-
explanation, but not a decision?
Yeah, I'm waiting for more information. I think I'll know more today.
Okay. Bring us back to that when you can. Yes, sir.
Mark,
Yeah,
did the secretary ever get back to you in terms of my question regarding, was this taken into account when the tax commissioner did their estimated reserve back in December?
no, I didn't
I mean,
ask.
I don't know that we can change anything. I mean, if they paid it, they paid it, we have to do it. It's just,
Oh, you're
I'm
right.
just sensitive to.
You know what? I think the problem is my going to the secretary. I'm gonna go to their government affairs person.
Yeah.
today, okay? So let me talk to you let's make sure my question.
Thank you.
29,
28 we're holding to? 27,
28.
28 we're hold?
yeah,
That's always the last, that's sort of.
yeah.
The big number.
We'll put it in number.
Well, isn't that money they
That's
already
the true up, yeah. Uh, 29,
Mhm.
Hold on.
this is the after-school grant program, so the explanation I'm giving applies here, it's on page 33, it's in various places.
Mhm.
The Peter Conlon's sent us Health and Human Services, Ways and Means are positive about this change of taking the cannabis money and sticking it not in the ed fund, in a special fund, so that there's more flexibility as to its use. The ed committee was very ambivalent, highly ambivalent about this.
Hmm.
I'm going to just summarize, but after testimony by the Department of Education, they wrote us saying that they would live with the current language.
We could live with it. They're sort of neutral.
I have added into the language, which is still, JFO is still working on the language. But I added anti-discrimination language in the text of the BAA, which does not, in my mind, resolve all of the differences between the two committees, but I checked with Peter, and the language that I picked, that I've used is okay with Peter, it's okay with Ledge Council, and it is okay with Council for AOE.
Okay.
It is not perfect and may provoke, litigation, but I think it's good.
Okay.
So, but section 29 isn't language, it's just the
No.
money and the
I know.
source of funds is
I
different,
just-
so are we good with that?
Good with 29,
Okay.
and do you want to shall I wait until we get this?
So because it's a whole package deal, so
Right.
just know that, okay, this is a part of like when we make a change, there's domino places where we're gonna.
This one here, 29, just replaces.
This is pretty
the
easy,
words
it's just
Tell us
chasing
phone.
the source of funds.
Yeah.
And so there'll be language creating the special fund and all that further on.
So all three committees are good with that. You're gonna, when we get to, yeah, go ahead.
Is the committee good with that? Because I don't think that they've had a committee vote on or a committee discussion about a letter.
They had a very vigorous committee.
They haven't. And there's been no formal communication as a committee.
No, an email.
So I just want to be careful about the language, right?
We have an email
From Peter,
from Peter with CCs to Aaron Brady.
right, but did the committees, is the committee, have they had a chance to weigh in on that letter? Like, so when we get letters from others, the committee has had a chance to say, okay, we've seen the letter, it's going to.
You're right. Some do, some don't, some, yeah.
My impression is that everybody on the committee has seen this email. Some aren't.
That is.
It's not an official.
Just based on the conversation I had last night,
I don't
I
think
do not believe that that is the case, which is why I'm asking the question.
I don't think, on the other hand, it's not unanimous.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of concern about the Agency of Education's intent, whether they can be trusted to administer this in a way that, in a good way. I have urged them to address this issue directly through legislation and not in the BAA.
And the substantive policy question is theirs.
Right.
It's that, it's not the other.
Well-
In the sense that it has to do with the anti-discrimination and the protections of the ed fund versus a special fund. So that is uniquely in their wheelhouse, so that's why I'm asking.
Yes,
And Ways and Means.
my impression is that perhaps erroneously, I don't know, but historically, child care has been within Health and Human Services.
This is that brackish water that.
Which is why I think there's an issue between committees there, and I know Peter spoke with Kelly Pidal, who was the person in Health and Human Services. And after that, and after testimony, they took the approach they did. I took the position that it was not appropriate for us here to resolve what I think is a fairly complicated issue. Certainly not in the context of the DAA. The only thing I've done is add some anti-discrimination.
Some further, like it's the intent, bulletin 3.5.
That's right.
Representative Bloomley and Representative Dickinson.
So that would be Holcomb.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I don't mind.
You know what? There was like a little dyslexia. That's interesting.
By the way, I just should add that the letter, the email from Peter Conlon to us also expressed some real hesitation about the $1 million
Mhm.
as well.
So, all right, so I get what you're
I
doing. You're
forwarded that
unrolling it.
email. Aaron has the email. Happy to.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to share that with everybody.
We need to share it with everybody.
So we won't, how about if we don't close it until we share that with everybody? And then we've got human services, ways and means, education, but would it be safe to, and then you can say, it's safe to say that if they change to the special fund, this is what's necessary. It's not, so it would be, you've got.
Yes, in other words, this
Exactly.
section,
Everybody's okay if we move, when we move to the special
I
fund.
mean, the only reason you wouldn't be okay with it is if you oppose the concept. But at
Right.
the moment,
That's, three
that's
committees are,
where we are, yeah.
all right. Rebecca, and then we'll go to 30.
Given what you've said, what I'm trying to understand is this sounds like a very substantive change. And I just keep coming back to, is the BAA the right place to make a substantive change in policy? When I voted on this in the Big Bell last year, I voted because of how we described how the monies were going on. Changing this language now is a very substantive change. We are talking about the challenge of affordability in Vermont, which is severe. It is severe. I can't even go to the dump without getting asked about it right now. And we have a high functioning current after school system run through the Agency of Education that is very efficient, very equitable, and makes best use of existing infrastructure. And it is grossly underfunded and has been for years. With this, we are choosing to set up a parallel system that requires new infrastructure, new overhead. We're hearing across the hall right now about how indirect should be 20%, not 10%, on all of these grants that we give out. In addition to the existing infrastructure that we are paying for already. So we're gonna have to pay twice when we do this. In addition, we already know that we are moving from a section that has pretty robust protections for students. And it's not just about discrimination. It's about whether when you operate a program, you can refuse to provide transportation and charge fees so that the only people who can access them are people who can afford to pay it and leave work in the middle of the day to drive their children. That's gating. And it is fundamentally different from the public good of public education that says, I don't care where you are, who your parents are, or what they do. You are entitled to the support that we are paying for to give you a fair chance. And we take this out of that system and put it into a system that objectively, if you read the headlines, kids have been expelled from for wearing spaghetti strap dresses. They've been expelled from because their behavior is a little bit challenging. They've been encouraged not to attend because they're the wrong religion or they're gay. We are objectively introducing risk that as a body, we have been unable to even acknowledge. And so I can't understand why something so profoundly substantive is in the Budget Adjustment Act. I just don't understand why we are making this kind of policy change, given that we have not even been able to have those conversations. And we know Vermonters across the state are looking to us to make sure that we make sure every dollar goes as far as it can to do the greatest good for people, because government is what we do together to make sure everybody has a fair chance. When we set up that system, we are voting against that fundamental principle. And when I came here, I ran to make sure we were working for everybody, not just the select few. We are opening the door to programs serving only the select few. And we don't get to pick and choose which kids those are because we're now outsourcing that to private entities that are going to decide for us which kids have a fair chance with tax dollars. So I have very, very strong concerns about this. I'm very upset that this has not been robustly discussed by the body before we make such a consequential decision that fundamentally says we aren't here for all kids. We're here for whatever kids those providers decide deserve it. That's just not fair. That's not why I'm here.
Maybe I can help with that
Can you
because,
see the letter? The email?
We're here.
yeah. Maybe I can help because the reason, and maybe I can help with why it's in here is because there's been discussion. It was debated last year. This is settled law. And it was our legislative intent to do this. And it was discovered one of those technical things that needed to have a fix in order for funding to move. I don't think there's no change with our legislative intent of what we passed last year.
We may have to be very careful about pronouns because that's
Yeah.
not me. I'm not in
Yeah.
that pronoun. Because if it had been written this way last year, I would not have voted for that.
You might not have, but I think there's already been settled law. That's why I was saying, we're not going to open up, relitigate. It's not the big change. It is a change in order to get the job that allows the Agency of Education to do what we instructed them to do. And then they came back and said, oh, we need this fixed in order to be able to do what you instructed us to do. And so that's why it's there. That's why it's important.
I respectfully disagree. Madam Chair, that it's not a technical fix if the law, if the effect of our moving this has profound consequences, it's not technical. And it may be that we were confused about it.
About how much of a change it was last year, maybe.
Well, no, because we passed it in the Ed Fund, we may have been confused about what we were doing by passing it in the Ed Fund.
That's true.
But to fix it opens up unintended consequences, and that's.
Which may not-
that's where we are.
Right, and it may not, it may be up, it may, and I respect that if if it's not something you can support, it's not something you can support.
I just want to respond to what I think you heard from Rebecca is an eloquent, clear statement of reasons to oppose this. If we had not had, so what do you do? So now I'm just going to talk process. So what do you do? I mean, this issue, that view was aired. And what do you do? What do we do here when we face differing views about in different committees? If we had not, if in the end, the education committees had not decided to go ahead with the language for now, we might have, I think, decided, well, we can't reach agreement, so we leave status quo. But when you have all three committees there, having heard testimony to the contrary, there are contrary views. I'm comfortable doing this. I have to admit it's beyond my knowledge as to how this will play out. I added the anti-discrimination language, which is in some ways stronger than anything that the Agency of Education has utilized in the past. Just, I admit, as a way of addressing only some of the concerns that Rebecca, is aired, just a little bit. But that's where I came down. It's up to the committee.
Right, it'll be, yeah. Representative Shaw?
Yeah, so I may be making this too simplistic, and if I don't understand this right, you all will correct me, but we voted last year on a childcare bill that clearly stated that we were going to have a mixed delivery system. So that piece of policy is done. And if I'm understanding this correctly, what was determined was if the money came straight from the education fund to the childcare places, it could only be done, the Agency of Education only has the authority to give the money to LEAs within, and then the LEAs could choose to subcontract out. And so that's if it goes through the education fund. Because there are a number of LEAs, and I don't know the number, that don't have the capacity to do that work, the fix is proposed to be create a special fund, and then the Agency of Education itself can do the sub-granting out to LEAs and to other nonprofits, et cetera, to do that. So I think that's the technical piece that you're talking about. But the mixed delivery system was voted on last year.
And that's not the issue. Yes.
All right, well, that's what I'm feeling like is the issue that's coming up again.
To them. And the mechanism by which it gets to the mixed delivery system.
Through the special fund is the issue that,
Special fund has different.
as opposed to having it go to the LEAs and have the LEAs themselves subcontract out.
Right, so it's not I don't think that the issue is the mixed delivery system. It is the mechanism by which the money moves and what protections are in place
Right,
as the money moves through the
Right.
system.
and,
Because we ended up putting that money in the ed fund, it gets a certain default
right,
system.
yes,
And this is moving it out
a
of
little
the
bit further
default
away, right,
into a different one to accomplish the same goal, which is to
Right.
create a mixed delivery
Right.
system. But the question is, how is it steered for equity and all of that?
and so that's why Mark has has had legislative counsel put in some non-discrimination.
Which I don't think that the education committee has seen your language, have they?
Yes, they have.
So I know that you meant,
So
not
there's
child
trying to
care,
put
you
some
meant
guardrails on to make up.
Is the chair of education senior, or is the committee senior language?
Committee is not, it's the chair.
Okay, because I think we're being.
And
a little
that's,
careless here.
yeah, and you know.
We do in BAA.
I do, we look, yeah, exactly. It's sometimes you see a vote and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it's an email and,
So-
yeah.
So the attempt is to, if we have to move to the special fund, to put more guardrails on, to
Right.
try to get us back closer to what we had, which was just going to the LEAs.
But with respect, this is an active litigation right now. And at question is whether you actually can apply guardrails. And saying something 3 times doesn't work if you can't do it once. And to be clear, this is not childcare. This is after-school programming, which used to be in the purview of education, because after-school is a primary tool in flexible pathways to enhance outcomes for disadvantaged kids. We are taking an education job and giving it to the childcare sector, which is fine if that's the policy decision of this group. But we already know that that sector is not prepared to protect against discrimination. It does not have open enrollment. We already know that they don't require providers to provide services for kids with disabilities. And in my area, that means some kids with disabilities don't have access to a program nearby. We don't have a coherent response. And we're taking something when we have the pandemic hit, the most visible evidence that I can think people can see of what a school system can do is when the pandemic hit and everybody was hungry, the school districts drove sometimes 2 to 3 meals a day to every kid. That's what after school used to do in the Agency of Education. And we're taking a strong, coherent system and we're breaking it and scattering it to the wind. And we just have to be clear because we need to be ready for the additional costs, the greater inequity, and the greater inaccessibility of the fragmented system that we're creating. But it's different. It's
I
not.
don't
the childcare
disagree
law.
with you that it's change. And, okay, so here's my goal, and this is that change will happen and it will evolve and the system will occur, will evolve and change, whether through litigation or other things. But I'm just like, so literally, what I might, or in working with to try to figure out how to put in place what our legislation that we passed last year to make happen, to allow the agency to do what we instructed them to do. And they need the tools to be able to do that. Whether or not there are problems with the bigger system, I won't disagree with the whole system. It's got some issues. That is something that will be continued to work on over time. But what I don't want to have happen in this is that because there's some sort of not, that there might be some issues, true, but I don't want, I don't know how many after-school sites, which is maybe in the neighborhood of hundreds across the state, to not get their funding this coming year for this reason. So if we can allow the education committee to be able to do what we instructed them to do in this manner, as Fix does that legally and with funds, and continue to work on how do we refine that door? That is it childcare or is it education? Is it childcare or is it education? And it is both. And they come to grips in that thing. So I don't disagree with it that there's issues that have a bigger piece, but what I would like to do is to not shut out half the state's after-school programs for this
There's
reason.
no evidence. No one has provided evidence that can't be done because I actually called the agency and they said they could. They have 78
So
applications.
I'm not prepared to take that risk. So we can apply, give the agency the tools that they need to do what we instructed them to do and watch what happens and see if there's a reason in the bigger body.
It's a binary choice.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, what you want, and I agree with you, I want the money to go out.
I want the money to go
I
out.
want the money to go out too. But if the binary choice is that the only way that can happen is the special fund,
Yes,
then you're asking us to make the policy choice without clarity. And, with all respect to the way that we have to navigate around the DAA, there is a disconnect between the chair of House Education and the rest and parts of that committee that has not been resolved. They have not had testimony asking these questions as a collective group.
Yes.
And you're asking us to be ready to make a substantive policy change that is deeply connected to our values without knowing the confidence that the committee has actually vetted this as a whole. And that's a hard ask. And that's all.
That's it, yeah.
And I want the money to flow.
I want the money to flow. Ways and Means, this is an ed fund piece. They're waived in. Human Services on an after school, it's in their place. The change that we've made over time. And you're right, you'll have to contemplate it. You don't need to make that decision right this minute, but we will make that decision by the end of the day. Whether you can get with it or not, that's.
Maybe there's
we've got-
other pathways. That's what I mean.
So I think Representative Mahali has been working this to try to find that balance. And he's come up with two places and he's come up with some belts and suspenders to try to help to get that. And I don't know if we're gonna, like you said, it's gonna be tough. We're gonna need to decide if we're going to not flow the money while we wait for bodies to have discussion. That is not going to be acceptable for me. Representative Dolan.
I know that in other situations, instead of creating a formal special fund, we create a fund in session law to handle kind of maybe
Situations.
Handling the situation. For the context here in the BAA, given the discussion today, would it make sense to, instead of moving towards a path of establishing a formal special fund for the time being in the context of the BAA, create a fund for the sole mechanism of getting the money out for this year, and then signal to the committees of jurisdiction that we need input onto this to determine how to best move forward.
If this is the final decision or whether it should be.
Yeah, and it gives us some elbow room.
It's an interesting idea. I wouldn't give it just 1 year. I would give it 2 or 3 or 4, just some time for them because they have not resolved it. And it's been, the greater body has not, there are questions, but there's, exactly.
Revisit it.
And there's an opportunity. So we can think about, but I wouldn't do it for you. It's got to be a long term. This has been an ongoing thing this is a subject matter for 10 years. We started off 10 years ago with a bill that created the special fund, that it was outside of it. And then we brought it in with AOE. So it's gone 360 degrees now.
But this may give us some of that elbow room, some of that flexibility we're seeking.
So why don't we're not in disagreement with Human Services. We're not in disagreement with Ways and Means, and we're not totally, there's uncomfortableness. But, all right, we're gonna decide this by the end of today.
I just want to add that, though I think there are very different opinions on the Ed Committee, they did take testimony.
Yeah.
And I had a discussion with 4 or 5 of them, including several who were not happy, and urged them to take this up in a bill and hold a hearing and get testimony from advocates. I'm just not sure that they felt there was any more testimony right away off the top of their head.
My understanding is that they didn't have testimony from the agency.
They did.
On this specific question.
Yes, they did. Have specific.
So somebody from the committee yesterday said that that was not.
But the testimony from the agency, the secretary.
Sorry, not from the secretary, but from
The
people.
secretary was, and Jess DeCarolis, they were grilled and talked a lot about these issues. For example, one concern, I'm just using one example, one concern was the Agency of Education going to administer this themselves, or were they going to use Vermont after school? And the answer was they're doing it themselves with the 2 FTE that we added in the budget. You know, I do not feel like I can decide this issue. I mean, you heard Rebecca, I think, very clearly indicate some of the issues that are out there. There are others on the other side. So I'm merely acting, I really am merely acting in the face of disagreements when we do.
And that happens from time to time. It's happened, but there's, yeah, that's where this, yeah, where we decide. We decide. So I've got 10 o'clock. We're gonna hold this to the end of the day at least. How about if we get a couple more and take a break at 10:15? All right,
Okay.
all right. So that was 29. So 30 I've got checked off. 6:03.
30.
No, that is 30. Okay, sorry, it's on the other page.
30 is checked off.
31,
Yes, I like
32, 33, 34. 35, language only. Oh, this is,
Yes.
3.5.
yeah, we're gonna see language from Brady. This is the debt service piece that they need to keep this much, but unless this committee decides otherwise, it's a one-time effort, and language is gonna come from later at 1 o'clock that says, this is okay this year, but we're not going down the slippery slope.
This is which section?
Section 35.
Top of page 19.
So I mean, I don't think we're gonna disagree with the numbers on that page. It's gonna be fine, but just I noted that language is coming to say, like, we'll agree with this, but only for one time. Or we can check that off.
Transfer as opposed to appropriation
Yeah,
in order to save some money going to the debt reserve.
it leaves 675,000 to cover the bond issuance costs, which normally this line would have 74 million.
75, 705.
There you go. So we could make a decision and check this off and waiting for the language, because we're not going to change this number unless we decide to buy back 3.5 million. Okay,
35 is okay.
yeah, 35 can be okay. Just note that language. All right, now we move in the bottom of page 19 to the other things.
Yeah.
This is what I call like the real language, the B1100. Are we going to agree with the 30 million for FEMA? We haven't agreed with that yet.
No, but is there any chance, depending on what happens later today, that that number would be increased?
No, this
No,
is the
because that's
state.
just
This
FEMA.
is just FEMA state FEMA.
Probably not.
This is
Okay.
our existing obligations.
Okay.
But Yeah, I don't think we're gonna, you know, we
No,
might have
that's
some
fine. I'm just
opportunity. I don't
asking, we're
think.
gonna have to pay more than this. I
Right.
know.
Well, yeah, and then the
Uh,
FY 25 budget, I think the governor will have another, at
Okay.
least 27 that we know of.
Okay,
That they came in when
I think they'll be
Doug
ready.
was like, we're gonna need 57 million.
right,
So that's what we're putting a down payment on the
Yeah.
FEMA.
okay.
Okay, we can check that off. Number 5 is the
We have-
three,
We
you've
have
got.
language.
We have language, so we're just running it by a few others. I've sent it to ADS and I've also
You
sent it to Seth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so our plan, our thinking on this 3 million is that we've already appropriated 24.5 million or something to this project, and we're gonna take 3 million out of that. They need to do this business process. So they can use 3 million of the 24 million. And we're also putting in a trigger. We're very concerned about that $2 million payment in May. And so until like JITOP signs off on it or something.
Well, they're in the
about-
process of an independent review of that whole system with the vendor, so we won't get back until March, which may be too late for the BAA on the Senate side, so
Oh, that's the 2 million
we're
payment.
hopefully gonna let JITOC meet and say, yes, okay, based on that independent review, or no. And we just don't want to keep paying this 2 million plus a year. Well,
Yeah.
make sure, we want to make sure it's the right system and the timing works, so.
Yeah, because it's just paying for licenses and we're not able to use the licenses because we don't have the system in place.
Is this what, Sarah? had-
Yes.
So what
I
we're,
mean, essentially, we're just trusting them.
Well, we know they need the 3 million.
Yeah.
We don't want to give them an additional 3 million on top of the 24 million that
That
we've
they're
already
sitting on.
done, which is going out for 10 years.
Mhm.
So we can replace the back end of the 3 million in
Later.
increments over a period of time later. But we know they need, when they did the original contract, they didn't include any staff or any business processes to do it. They just bought the software.
So does this language accomplish what you want?
You think so, but
We
we're
think
just
so.
running it by a few others to make sure it
Yeah.
does.
So we're not asking you to approve
Yeah.
this
It
yet.
doesn't
We're just-
appropriate an additional 3 million.
No, it just gives us
No, no.
3 million back
Well,
to the general.
and the
fund.
language,
no, but I think it's important to understand that if JITOC says, yes, keep going, et cetera, we are gonna need to backfill that $3 million in 2 years down the road.
Right, but
Yeah.
not for next year. And we can do it over a period of time because it's really the last 3 years of the contract.
Right.
so if their plan works, this line item will get crossed off and $3 million goes back on the table. But they're working on the language, the
Right.
next level. So I don't know how you want to indicate that. We're probably gonna be okay with
We're
it.
okay
and
with not spending the
We're
3
gonna be
million?
okay with not spending allotment of 3 million. That we're gonna give them permission with the work that they've done in language. That will give them permission to take that 3 million from the pot of 20 million that they have for this program.
We're hoping to have the language class later this morning, this afternoon.
Right.
Okay.
And then we'll share it with you, just to make sure it does work.
So does that work for everybody?
I think so.
My only, I know, I'm a little bit shocked that they would just buy the software without the research. That
They
that
did.
never happens.
They owe,
Mhm.
and it did.
Yeah, I know, it's idiotic.
Yes.
So can you imagine?
But
We
essentially.
have new
we're just
people
trusting-
running this now who were not involved in the purchase of this. So the people who are trying to fix this now are fixing other people's problems, creations.
You remember the two?
Yeah, I do. It's just,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yes, they really did that.
And our IT consultant for joint fiscal
Lisa.
Confirmed-based.
said we have to do this before we can implement any type of software system, which everyone agrees needs to be done because the other one is dated and running out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so they're working on that. It looks like they've got a path. I would put just a little X next to this because there's about a 99% chance that this
Okay,
will come back, that we're going to cross it out and we're not going to accept that. And one of the very few areas at all that we're not agreeing with the governor, but not only are we, but it's not totally taking it. We're actually everything that they want to be able to do with it is going to be accomplished. Okay, C is checked off.
Yep.
2 is checked off. Check, 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 that whole
Yeah.
page. We get down to the bottom. Human Services Central Office.
Accident circumstance.
All or portion of these funds may also be used as matching funds. The Agency of Human Services Global Commitment Program to provide state. Funds are used as matching funds to the Agency of Human Services Global Commitment Program to provide state match. Commensurate amount of global commitment fund spending authority may be requested during the global commitment transfer process. So I need an interpreter.
Is it in the,
This is Lynn.
This is Lynn.
Yeah, this is mine. I gave a bunch of questions to the Green Mountain Care Board. If I can find it.
Somebody just brought up a good point that the explanations for
Not
this
in
are way far
It's not
long.
it's not in,
On page 20, it's section,
oh, wait a minute.
It would be
I'm out.
one.
L. L3, language provides.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
AHS,
Well,
the
It doesn't say
flexibility.
anything new. So my concern is that we gave this money specifically for emergent and exigent circumstances. And if they're gonna use it for global commitment, that could be for any number of things that are not emergent and exigent.
Hmm.
So
Well,
how do we
it
know what
was
they're gonna use it
one
for?
time for COVID needs and now they're wanting.
In, to address the needs impacting healthcare providers.
Which, I can't
So-
find
This
it.
is the bottom of 20.
Bottom of 20, L3. So I guess the question would be, Lynn, do we, all right, so there's 10 million, there's no money totally, but there's money involved. What's, of this $10 million, what's left that they want to match?
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But I asked Rich Donahue for an answer and he haven't gotten it in writing from him. So I just sent him a follow-up.
he
Anyway.
sent me a bunch of stuff, so
Yeah, and
and I can't get into it.
To you, but I'm sure
Yeah.
that there's so many questions that it just got
Yeah.
buried.
Okay, so the Department of Finance and Management determined that since AHS received an appropriation of 10 million in Act 78, in the big bill, to provider stabilization efforts, this remaining balance in the one-time appropriation could be reverted and reappropriated for the BAA needs. So
All right, so that
Does
is.
he tell
I
her
asked
left?
about, this is in the reversions, it's 4.868 plus million.
What page?
Well, this refers to the emergent exigent funds.
Right.
Page,
Oh, yeah, it's on page 35 of 2/3 of the way down.
it's on the reversion page,
Oh, there we go.
and it's 4.868 million, and that's apparently why they reverted the 4. So whatever they,
So is that 4.8?
any balance on the one-time appropriation, and it's in that little thing that Grady gave us, that 4.88,
So
so.
they spent 5.2 million of the 10.
Of the 10, now they've got this left over and they want to.
Converted in another part of
And
it,
use it for global commitment.
Okay,
yes.
and
I
your
have to go
recommendation,
through, I've got to go through all of his notes, because but that was one of them.
so we could say see page. So Maria,
Yeah.
would you like us to wait till you get an answer? But
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
see page 34 reversion, and I feel like I just got a little smarter on this. Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
All right, and then the rest, okay, on page
So N
21,
is okay.
7, yeah, good.
What about the car?
Oh, the car. I think Human Services talked about that in their letter. I
They did.
think,
40,000 for the car, is that okay?
no, well, the car we gave the 40,000 last year, they just want to change the use to broaden it. I'm gonna look to Representative Holcomb on that. If the Human Services letter, Do you know if
They
they,
did not mention that in the car, but I will double check with them that they're
Okay.
comfortable with the
Yeah,
alternative.
if I read the new language, I mean, if they wanted to lease a car
They
instead
still
of
could.
purchasing it, they could.
I think it's broader. It allows them
Yeah.
more flexibility in how they
Yeah.
address it. I'll just make sure Human Services is comfortable
Right.
with the
Yeah.
flexibility.
and, or take a look at, I thought I saw it in the letter.
I think they did. I think they get that.
It's,
Check.
yeah, you check.
Check.
It's a GCF thing. Okay, change that allows flexibility. No, 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 yeah. And meeting the General Assembly's intent for supporting driver education for foster children. The committee concurs with the governor's proposal adjustments regarding, and then they name 4 points there.
Okay, so that was,
So that would be that.
that's okay.
That's okay with them.
We agree.
Yeah, but is it okay, Representative Holcomb, are you good with their getting their feet?
Yeah, I'll get their feedback. They did not mention it, and I will double check on that.
Page 2 of their letter,
Where is it mentioned in the car?
The top.
right there. It's in the fourth point down under.
Oh,
DCF.
yes, yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, so we can check that off.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna check it off on here too. All right. The other two, I think we're gonna get,
Something.
yeah,
This is fine.
why don't we wait on the 8 million, 4 million till we look at the whole GA program? I I'm not getting any sense that they're gonna make a change to that, but don't know. So that's where that will come from later today. Okay. All right.
You know, that,
Agency of
Yeah.
Education, 20,000.
that's just
Yeah,
continuing
Mark.
200,000 for the task force.
Yeah, and in fiscal year 2020, on the bottom of page 21. Do you have any enlightenment that you'd like to share on that? No, okay.
I thought we saw something from Peter that said that was fine. All they're doing is taking out it was
The
only
date.
authorized for 2024 and this extends it. So it's no new money. It's just.
And I think we could sign off on the 1.9 million.
Yeah, number 2.
Yeah.
That's not gonna,
1 and 2.
we'll check off 1 and because it seemed really not a big deal unless you point later on that it is. Yeah. All right, public service was all done and then it's all explanation. We'll just get through these one times, okay? D 1101 is done, D and 4 checked off, 23, 7.
On number 5 at the top.
Yeah,
Yes,
open
that's
tip.
new.
Is
Yeah,
that ringing a
that-
bell?
I thought we had closed that.
Okay.
Okay, so you're good with it?
Yep.
All right. That's page 24 up at the top, number 5.
Number 5.
That Tiff had open for a minute. DMH appropriation is converted to general fund to Jacob commitment fund.
It,
I think the explanation explains
So,
it.
yeah,
Five or number 4?
Number 5 on the top is 24. We already
Hey, we're
did,
helpful on the right page. Sorry.
yeah, we did number 4 and we also, we closed number 5 is 30.
but number 4 is related to number 5.
Yeah.
38's closed, H.
Hatfield, yeah.
Yep, that's not, so page, I'll put all of page 24 stuff. Are we gonna, I don't know if this just came to me or somebody, but on the brownfields?
Yeah, I was,
Did everybody get?
There was,
Yeah, go ahead.
when we asked questions,
Yeah.
they were in here.
And then they answered
sent
them.
an email back to us answering all those questions.
Yeah, so I
You have that, okay.
I put it in my book next to it because they did it. They did a good job. All right. Next, 39, we checked off. We're not doing that recommendation, but on page 27, we're gonna keep that one sentence. 40 done, 42's done, 42.
40 is okay.
40 is okay, we did yesterday. in the letter of intent when we were walking
Yeah.
through with Maria. And 41, we did when we were walking through with Maria. And then 42 was okay. And then 43, we've got we got the replacement of Grady's language and more to come.
GovOps
Yes.
did okay. That language that Brady had done.
Yeah,
Right, as a replacement. However, they further asked for another tenant, so I don't know if.
We're not-
Going there.
that might change. So that's still open for waiting for government ops. And then I have a note here between the 43 and 44 that Brady's new that relates to what his replacement would fit there. Okay, and then 44 is checked off, 45 is checked off, 46 is checked. Go ahead.
25 is checked off? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 46, 47. 48, we're holding, waiting for. Yeah, well, we're not gonna disagree. Well, let me check in with our council.
Are we holding in?
We were only holding
And
N open because that was
Also-
that service. Yes, but N was the one at the top.
we need the language for that.
We're gonna need the language for that, but I don't think we're gonna disagree with this, right?
Right.
Language one time. So I'm gonna put a little pencil X instead of a check that we're good waiting that thing. All right, and then two is the true up. Yeah, well,
Did we check off G and H?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we already did that.
I didn't.
Oh, I-
I had those open.
checked it off so
Maybe you were
hard.
at the meeting.
Yeah,
You did.
yep. And then, okay, so two is the true up of the after-school learning fund. Okay, this has nothing to do with any of the other things. This has to do with the fact that as dollars come in, that we've instructed in the bill last year that said at BAA, true up to what actually came in for receipts.
Right.
So this is fine.
This is,
Cannabis came in better than expected.
it's meaningful only in that it's
It's-
going to the
right.
fund.
Exactly.
But also, in the administration's proposed language, they struck a reference to using the BAA for this true up purpose.
They did.
We are taking the strikeout out.
We want them to come back and do a true up
Every
so that we
time.
can see the fun, what happened,
Mhm.
instead of it just not being in front of any future legislatures will not have the ability to see this line be trued up if we take Representative Mahaly said the administration's suggestion is to not have it in law, that it gets trued up in the BAA.
Yeah.
So, all right, other than, we can check the money, and then other than the other is the fund is a bigger question. Okay, the rest of that page is done. We're, all right. Oh, I've got registration fees fund. Maria, is there any? Sorry to put you on the spot. Oh, we got an email on that. I saw something.
Where are we now?
Where are we? Yeah, we're
The commit Representative Harrison and myself and
Yeah,
Sean.
Maria got this, because we
Yeah.
were-
That was the amount to close out the thing that
Oh, yeah, yes.
went away in 2020 or something. So that's the right number to close it out.
That's correct.
So it's a reversion to the general fund, so that's money and we like that, and it closes out an account that was.
So where we are.
The top of page 34, 21970, registration fees fund, 605,000.
Okay.
So that's okay to accept that money into the general fund.
Mhm. Okay, I think we're good. We got our explanation. All right.
We approved the AG fees, Jim, or Trevor? The 3
Oh, the
million,
court?
and 4 million instead of the 1 million?
I had requested an explanation of the 3 million. It's an ad, right?
We're getting more money.
We're getting $3 million.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen the document.
Well,
So
we're
I'll
not-
have information before we have to explain it.
On the floor.
Right.
But, okay, we're
But
gonna
we're
take
good
the
with
money.
taking the money.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, 3C.
So then maybe we stop here at reversion.
I'm thinking, yeah, let me just go look. Oh, yeah, reversion's got a lot of activity.
Yeah, we said the first 4 at the bottom we approved.
Mhm.
So we can, and I can approve the auditor of accounts at the top.
Okay, we can check that off. I don't see us making any, well, there might be some minor changes and then on the next page because Human Services has got us holding on that. These would probably, in a world of saying, but for anyone who changes these are gonna be accepted. Okay, so it'd be more flagged that way instead of the other way of paying
So
them.
we flagged this secure residential
Yes,
treatment.
on page 36, yesterday when Human Services was
Right.
here, they think that $2.7 million reversion can be higher, which means it would put more money because they think that they're holding on to too much that they won't need. So they're working on that number. So Teresa will be coming back with that number. And they made a recommendation, which we're still considering on the childcare provider workforce.
They wanted to revert
A
only
million back.
2.8, right?
Yeah.
They retain a million.
They want to
for-
retain, go from 3.8 to.
Right.
To 2.8, yeah,
Right.
right.
So I do have a question on here,
Mhm.
Tristan, I think is yours, DOL for 2.4 million. Do we know what that is?
I believe we know what it is, and I will know by the end of the day from Cam for sure.
Okay,
I believe it's essentially that costs that weren't incurred because of the delay in the UI modernization project. And so it's, but that's, we're working to get that pinned down.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at the code. It's from 2020. It's got,
no, from
so
2000.
2000. Is that 2000?
Yes.
It's, no, but it's. No,
No, that might not be
It's
the-
base, it's base.
Oh, it's from base. So therefore it's the,
It's on the base list of carry forward inversions. It's not a, so I don't think that that's a one-time code.
okay.
And so I think it was tied to staffing up in order to be able to do the UI modernization because people would have to be assigned other tasks to support the modernization work, and then because that was delayed. But that's my best guess at the moment, and hopefully I will know mid-afternoon. Unfortunately, the CFO for or whatever his title is out this week, so it's gonna be Cam, who's their government affairs, and the commissioner hopefully came back to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think we talked about it, or maybe I just have it in my notes. Yes, go ahead. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I just want to mention that we're contemplating making a change to the justice reinvestment corrections of 1.3 million. There are two pieces to that. One piece we're contemplating not reverting.
Right.
And looking at what those opportunities might be there, and I'm trying to define what that opportunity might be at this point.
Mhm. All right, great. So you'll,
Yeah, I'm working on it.
working on it. All right, Representative Holcomb, what do you got?
Just to clarify, Representative Wood had mentioned the concerns about the reversion from the youth secure residential operating budget. Did she get back to you with additional information?
She's, no, this is, she believes that the 2.7 should be
did, okay.
higher. When she was in testimony, she thinks that number,
They're gonna get that. today.
we'll get
Oh,
that
she is
today.
getting that to us, yes.
I
Okay.
go, stay tuned. This reversion could be higher, so she's,
Yes, but she hasn't told us yet.
No.
Okay.
no,
We'll probably get that with the rest of the
Okay.
last pieces.
which is
Okay.
why, like, last night, looking at her letter was like, okay, if she's got, this one is up, and this one isn't up, and this one is a back. I was trying to like, where are we in the bottom line with hers? And I think until we know this number, we won't exactly know.
Madam Chair, does
Yes,
that
sir.
mean just mechanically that if it goes up, we have more money?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the rest of that page, and I'm just gonna take a quick.
Is there anything else that we can,
51.
that we need to keep
Yeah.
open from anybody?
Oh, the mixing bowl piece is just gonna change a number. It's 51. 52 is a bigger question. 53. Housing and community development, 802. TIF on page 41 in the top 42, because that's all we're doing. 52, working on that. 51 and 52 are still open. For the moment, but by the end of the day, we should have that.
49 is going to be open if we have the cannabis division.
Yeah.
52.
49 is closed. Well, I think 49 is closed on the family service workers.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes,
Just
Just making sure we're.
Exactly, we don't.
Two cannabis positions
Fine
would
with
go
those,
there.
yeah. I just want to make sure we do
Yeah.
those positions.
All right, and then 53 is
Yeah.
802.
That's fine. It's a technical
We can close it.
change. There was a double count.
52 is open.
52 is open, 54
53 is closed. 54 is closed. 55 is open.
53 is closed.
53 is closed.
Yep,
Two is open.
correct. 55, clarification of actual.
Yes, Tristan was looking at this, or Maria, or,
Oh, this is in the legislative letter of intent that we heard
well, the
yesterday.
question was, did 24.9 million not get spent? And I think Maria, were you looking at that one?
Or maybe they
Yes,
moved
you
from
asked-
25 to
okay, so
24.
you
Yeah.
asked for a history of why, of this money, like why was this amount reverted?
I'm gonna go
And-
upstairs.
So I reached out to the administration and they're like. So they're swamped with the budget, 25 budget, so we may or may not get it this month. I will have to do the research and just dig around, find out what the history was of this. Okay, so that's a non-answer. But I do have a really nice, piece to add to this. Okay, I noticed that there's.
Oh, we actually had a question on here.
There's a digit missing in that 24 million number to see.
24,980, oh yeah, 84,9,
874.93,
874?
correct, yeah. So that was a little tiny.
Right,
but I don't have the answer regarding, this commerce, money.
And when you go to the letter of intent that we walked through yesterday, we left it open in there too, because that was the only place that we still had a question.
Was this I can ask one question, but, was this the money that was, like a capital grant project that? I'm remembering that there was something.
It's
that
Act
was-
3.
The economic, maybe you could talk to Joe.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna talk to Mike and see. Mike is often very
Okay,
good at retaining information.
great, because it looked like there was probably a $50 million program and almost 50% of it didn't get used.
so
And
when
so
you-
it's reverting back to ARPA, so that's money that we could use for something
if you
else.
look at the letter of intent,
Mhm.
okay, because it says that this is in other bills, so it's Act 3.
Excellent.
No, it's in here, see here, it's page 5542. This
Oh,
is,
yeah.
because it says letter of intent, so this is the one, so it's about that act that's not in the budget, so to speak, whatever. It's in section 81, tax and resolve, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It reverts American.
Which page on the memo is it?
It's on page
The-
1, 2, 3,
We
4,
didn't have
5.
numbers on that page either.
5, page 5 of the memo, where it says other fiscal intent.
Got it.
So that's the only thing on the letter of intent that we did. Well, maybe that one too. I missed it. Okay. It might give you a little more context. Oh, we're overdue. I was supposed to go somewhere.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
go apply for 15 minutes?
Okay.
How long?
Let's see. Yeah, I'll,
Or 11?
yes, we need a break, sir.
Do we do that by 11 or what do you need?
Yeah, how about if we come back at 11 and I'm not here, or a quarter of 11? And I'm not here, drive
Do
the
we have
bus.
that much more? What are we gonna?
Look at,
do?
we got 57, 58. All right, how about we come back at 11? If you've got some time to go get some answers on anything that you see, maybe we can track down agriculture.